Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kathleen. I'm part of the Magnet team, and we're just going to wait a couple of minutes for the attendees to come in. I hope everyone has found a cozy place given the storm that we had yesterday and last night. So we'll just wait a few minutes. And I wanted to ask, we've asked this before, but I'm quite curious kind of where everybody is from Ontario, maybe the type of business that you're involved in. It would really be great. And the question and answer box is open for you guys to be able to put that in. So if you could be kind enough and take a couple of minutes and let us know, that would be great. And we'll get the session started in about another minute or so. Okay, we have somebody from Whitby. I'm actually from Guelph.
All right.
We've got some people coming in here. Oh, Caledonia. And yes, just to let you guys know, the chat is disabled. It's the question and answer is the area that you need to write any information in. That's where we can answer you directly through text as well as live. And if you can continue to do that, that would be great. Oh, from Fergus, business is a farm. Very cool. Oh, you sell at local farm markets and online store. Well, that's really neat. Love it. Somebody from Ottawa, Brampton, Milton, Scarborough. Wow. We're covering the province. So I think we can get started. Hey, Nisreen and Joanne.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Kathleen. Feel free to do.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody. We're in week 2 of our Let's Get Digital workshop series. And today we will be talking or taking you through digital tools and how they can help you grow your business. And on today's agenda, we will be covering a variety of different topics. Specifically, we'll be doing a land acknowledgement. We will be touching a little bit about the first workshop from last week, digital tools overview, some great stats that I think everybody would find interesting regarding small business, and some of the digital tool spotlights. And then we're going to end with an opportunity for question and answers. And as I said, the Q&A box is open. So I wanted to take a moment and introduce our panelists for today's session. We have Joanne Sare, who is the Director of Programs at Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and Nisreen Radwa, who is our Senior Manager of Program Engagement at Magnet. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Nisreen.
Thank you, Kathleen, and welcome everyone to episode 2. This has been going really, really well so far, and we feel that the participants are really engaged. So we encourage everyone to share, listen, and ask questions as you need to. And before we jump into the actual webinar, I wanted to first and foremost acknowledge that the work that we do takes place on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and the Wendat peoples, which is now home to many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. And our partners across Canada similarly gather on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations who have cared for these lands since time immemorial. So let us take a moment to recognize that the many traditional lands on which we are connecting from coast to coast to coast with our gratitude and respect are for the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples whose footsteps were first to mark these lands. So let's talk about what happened last week at Workshop 1. So we discussed what the Grow Your Business Online grant was and why it came to be. So really to help Canadian businesses get online and giving their e-commerce presence a boost, helping them to grow their business really. Through a $2,400 micro grant, they are able to adopt some digital technologies. And this is available through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. And what the Ontario Chamber of Commerce is looking to do is to support your business so that you can remain competitive and adopt those digital technologies to continue to serve your customers and attract new ones. So e-commerce advisors are available to support you in participating in the Grow Your Online Business grant. And those e-commerce advisors are through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. So you are not doing this alone. And if this is something that you're looking forward to or interested in, you have help every step of the way. Okay. So that's what we talked about last week. Now, this week, our focus really is on the different tools that are available and starting to speak more to like, okay, I want to do this program, and like, what does that actually mean, and what's out there that can help me, and how. So we're going to go through some of these terms here and discuss what they mean and what they do. So e-commerce or electronic commerce, this is trading goods and services or really paying for things online. It's essentially what that means. And I want to make a special note that only B2C businesses are eligible for the Grow Your Business Online grant, which means that you're selling directly to your end customer or your end consumer. Okay. An online payment processing system. So this is really that encrypted POS system that exists on the checkout page. This is the point of sale online, and it's authorized and approved by the customer's card if they're paying by Visa or Visa debit, etc. Tracking data and analytics. So these are tools that you need to analyze data for your business so you can make informed decisions, and it can help you really essentially increase your revenues. And this is all about e-commerce. So as it relates to the Grow Your Online Business program, I do want to stress that the tracking data and analytics that you would be eligible to get expenses covered for relate to the e-commerce component of your business, not necessarily like a productivity tool that you're measuring for your employees or, etc. Customer relationship management, or CRM for short. This is the technology of managing your company's relationships with your database of customers or potential customers. So sometimes it helps people to stay connected, send out messages, just have an online Rolodex even, just so you can, send out certain asks or requests or campaigns digitally. Then we have a social media marketing and management terminology. So really, this is the business of creating, scheduling, publishing content, using a platform to try and make that a more effective practice rather than using it as like a single user. You're using it more from a management perspective, and really being able to grow your community, reporting and analyzing the data or the results of your campaigns. And this is also something that you can do in terms of engaging across different channels. So multiple social media channels at once, for example. And email marketing platforms, similar to CRM. Some CRMs can actually have an email marketing aspect built into them. And then some of them are more basic products. So an email marketing platform could be something like a Constant Contact. So if you're having an annual Black Friday sale, or if you're doing, something to that degree, you could send out an email to your list of constituents. Let's go through some quick stats, and let's talk about why all that kind of stuff is really important that we just discussed. So revenue from retail e-commerce in Canada is expected to double from 2019 to 2023. So expected to double in less than 5 years. So let's talk about how much money we're talking about. So it's billions of dollars. It's in 2022, it was around $3 billion per month. So this is bananas. This is a huge opportunity. We're talking a lot of money, a lot of investment. This is the way of the future. This is the way of the now. This is the way it was even a while back. So we really encourage everyone to do what they need to do to sort of adapt, remain competitive, and take in the fact that, almost 30 million Canadians are expected to make a purchase by the end of the year. One of those 30 million Canadians could be a customer of yours, or perhaps thousands, depending how you want to go about this. But so in 2020, 37% of Canadian online shoppers were between the ages of 53 and 72. So we can obviously see that, technology is becoming a little bit easier to use, and the way of the world and what has happened since the lockdown and COVID-19, people are adapting, people are changing, people are moving more towards their online and digital worlds for their needs. So they do as much as 70% of their purchasing research online, which means that it's really important for you to have a presence and an identity online so that you can take part in this growing number of online sales that is happening. 55% of consumers learn about new brands on social. And I'm very guilty of this myself. I always look at, different things on Instagram and say, oh, this is cute. Let me find out where this came from. Living proof of that. But that's a really large majority of consumers learning about something through social media. So important to have an identity online, important to use social media to your advantage, and really leveraging this to be part of this growing trend of having an e-commerce presence. So the digital tools that we're going to be spotlighting today are search engine optimization, social media, and e-commerce in itself. So SEO, or search engine optimization, refers to the techniques that help your website basically rank higher when you're putting a search through on Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever it is that you use. It's an essential tactic for brands that want to drive website traffic and grow their online visibility. So there could be a lot of competitors in your area. And what you could use search engine optimization to do is use a location or a place-based approach to give you a higher ranking. So that if I'm looking for, somebody said that they're a local farmer and that they also sell things online. If I'm looking for organic fruits in Durham region, and I was to type that into my search bar, for example, I want to be one of the first 10 results, because I don't want to have to go through 30 Google web result pages to get to me, right? I want to push myself, further in front of other competitors. I want to be one of the first names that come up. And I could do that through search engine optimization and perhaps getting some advice on how my website should be picked up by those different algorithms that use keywords on web pages and things like that. Now, I'm not an expert by any means, but I definitely would recommend that, if you have an idea of what you need to do, digital e-commerce advisor through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce can tell you how to get from point A to point B. No one needs to be an expert on any of this stuff. So the second thing we'll be covering today is social media. And social media is a term for sort of websites, applications that are all about, a community that you can communicate with, express yourself, post and share, interact, collaborate, etc. So we're thinking of all the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the TikToks. Those are all really great, but then there's also like LinkedIn. Not a lot of people think of LinkedIn to talk about their business, but that's another one that we're going to cover some numbers for today. E-commerce, also known as electronic commerce or internet commerce. Really, this is buying and selling online and actually paying for it online and making sure that, when you do your transactions online, there's some sort of online POS really that you can process these things with. So e-commerce is all about having basically a digital or an online storefront. Okay. Let's go into search engine optimization in a little bit more detail. So search rankings. So what are search rankings? This refers to the order of URLs on the search engine results page, or the SERP, and really the process in which search engines use to determine these results. So similar to the example that I just gave now about the farmer's market, or about the farmer that wants to sell their organic fruits in their region. You want to be able to come up in those search rankings. And whether that's organic traffic, so traffic that comes to your page that isn't paid for, or whether it's something that you do pay for, that's totally up to you and your strategy. We're going to explain what the rest of the three terms mean. So a loading speed, the time it takes for your web page to load. So some older websites that are a little bit clunky and maybe not using, the best technology or the best platform, or maybe there's too much happening on that web page and there's too many conflicting things, like a YouTube video is playing and several images that are not really sized for a mobile friendly search, for example. Some web pages can take too long, and sometimes they even time out. So it's really important to have a great website and to be using a great website platform that will give you a clean and sleek look that people are like, oh, this is appealing, I want to stay here, versus this is taking too long, I'm going to go somewhere else. Bounce rate. So this is the number of people that come to your webpage and then they leave because maybe your website isn't that great, or maybe it took too long to load, or maybe some pieces are not loading as quickly as they could be because you've got too much going on, and maybe your website isn't even mobile friendly. That's a whole other conversation. So really the objective is when someone comes to your website that there's a call to action or there's some action taken. You never want to have a high bounce rate. And backlinks. So when one website links to another, so this could be like you're reading an article online and then something piqued your interest. That's like, I'm going to click into that link that's hyperlinked inside this article, and that would be a backlink. So really good for businesses to think about, because that's how you can get sort of, you can collaborate with your online community and get mentioned in maybe blog articles, or, hey, maybe your product won an award from your local community chamber of commerce or something to that degree. That would be an example of a backlink. So traffic that's coming from one place that ends up in your direction. So that's a little bit about SEO. And here are the different tools that are out there. Google Analytics and just Google in general is obviously the most popular and the most dominant in the space. I'd say 80% of websites are using Google Analytics that do use analytics. But an alternative for SMEs, especially for small businesses that are looking for something that's easy and fairly inexpensive, is Clicky. CLICKY. It's on the screen there. Pricing starts at $10 a month, but depending on what you want to do and how far you want to take it, it obviously will go up from there. Okay, so that is SEO. We're going to move into social media platforms. So let's take a look at some of the numbers that are out there for the various platforms we're going to look at today. So the number of users is there at the top, and the top line is the total number of users. So for Facebook, we have 2.9 billion users, with 25 million in Canada. The same thing for Twitter, the same thing for Instagram, 2 billion users on Instagram, and almost 15 million of those are in Canada. The age range that is the majority is between 25 and 34, and the spread of female to male, this is in terms of the data that we've been given, and this is how it's separated from their end, but also average time spent on the platform per day per user. So 29, about half an hour is generally what you're seeing here, with the exception of TikTok, which is more than an hour and a half. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, an hour and a half on TikTok a day is the average. And then LinkedIn, people spend about 7.5 minutes each time that they visit the platform. And that would vary depending on a lot of different things, whether or not they are a young professional, whether they're a business owner. So we'll leave it at 7.5 minutes per visit. So the spreads here are interesting to look at and consider. A lot of people are investing heavily in product placement in Instagram because of the aesthetics that come with the Instagram platform. So you'll often see a picture of a very attractive influencer wearing something that looks really good on them. Again, guilty. I'd be like, where did you get that purse? Or where did you get those shoes? And that's how you would get organic, not potentially organic traffic if the influencer was not paid for it, but oftentimes they are. So that would be an example of a paid ad actually working out for you and converting into a sale. Facebook also does some of that, but we're finding that for products, TikTok and Instagram are very, very, very popular. And you'll even see some blogs that say TikTok make me buy it or something to that degree. So very, very interesting trends are happening in the space of e-commerce right now as it relates to social media and what it can do for you. So growth and driving traffic is a big part of why social media is important. Customer support, being able to have that direct line to somebody who's interested in buying a product from you or interested in asking you a question about that product before they make that decision to buy it. Maybe it's around sustainability. Maybe it's around whether or not is this a fair trade item? Is this something made locally? All those things. A lot of people have a lot of questions these days before they make a purchase decision. And branding and professional network. So this is really an opportunity for you as a business to tell your story and to not only have, to rely on traffic that might be walking by or coming to visit you wherever you are, but this is really an opportunity to expand your network and go as far and wide as possible. So lots of benefits to social media, and the tools, social media planning tools, are all here as well. So whether you are planning, creating content, or scheduling, social media marketing for small businesses is all about being strategic. And, small businesses don't necessarily have the luxury that large companies do. So they need to be agile and nimble and creative. So no marketing team, no problem, because you can potentially use a tool like Later or Hootsuite or Canva or Sendable. And all these tools, really what they help you with is planning. So determining when do you want to send it out, or when do you want to post it rather? What is the copy? So what's the caption going to be behind this post? What hashtags do you want to use? So plugging all that information in and putting a visual together. So Canva offers free accounts, and I've been using Canva for years. It's an incredible tool, very useful. So you'd create content on Canva, plan it out and put the associated copy together, and then schedule it so that you don't have to sit there every day and say, oh, I didn't post today, or oh, I'll get to it later. And then it never really happens because you're really busy. So this is an opportunity for you to do things in the off hours or on your own time, and putting a little bit of admin time aside a week or even bi-weekly to make sure that all your social media is covered. So this is, again, a really great way for you to be strategic in how you actually engage online. So the recommended sort of strategy here is to 80% inform, educate, or entertain, and 20% in promoting your business. So you don't always want to be like, here's a product, buy it all the time. You definitely want to be more like, oh, this person came into my store and we sell creams that are all from natural products, and they had eczema for 10 years and this cream really worked for them. And then sharing that story, but doing so in a way that it's like, oh, it's more engaging than this cream is $20, buy now. Those are the types of things that are available on different blogs, and you can do a lot of different reading on how to actually engage people and what that 80-20% split that we've shared here today really means, and some examples of it. So those are some social media tools that you can take advantage of. And they're all, again, like monthly subscriptions. They work really, really well with the Grow Your Online Business Grant, because they do contribute to your e-commerce. And they're affordable in such a way that you can pay for it in the long term. So the $2,400 can actually be applied to use various things. And one of those things could be a subscription to later.com for, whatever it is a month. I'm not sure how much exactly, but probably no more than $50 a month to be able to have that functionality and have that flexibility of your time. So really, really excellent option to explore. So lastly, we're going to get into e-commerce. So e-commerce integration, like merchants or small businesses are like, all right, I've never had a website before. I want to take my product online. I want to be able to sell online. I need a platform to do this. And so what happens is you can do this in so many different ways. And it really consists of an array of options that you can go through that will offer you these plug and play features. So, okay, I need a website. All right, here's a website that offers you different templates, and those templates, you can stick different things in them, like a social media bar that just shows all the tweets that you've been doing recently. You can put a menu of all the different products you want to highlight. Lots of different e-commerce websites are out there to help you build and customize your online store. We want to feature Shopify today because I really like Shopify, but I think that most people would agree, as it is the most popular e-commerce platform out there. It's very suitable for small businesses, and it has a price tag that is also very reasonable with their most basic package starting at $29. So Shopify has minimal hassle. A small business could put something online on their Shopify web page and put together a page in fairly short order. There's different options below, like Xyro, Wix, Shift for Shop, formerly known as 3D Cart, if anybody remembers that, and Weebly. So all of those are different options, but basically these website builders make it easy to put your store online, put up a catalog, process payments. All of those things are sort of all together in one. So if it seems like it's a mountain at first, it's really not. And they also have a very excellent support team to help you through that, in addition to the e-commerce advisor that will also be helping you put together your plan for that. Lastly, or the next steps, if everything here sounds really great and you're more persuaded, or you're even more interested in taking part in the Grow Your Business Online Grant, really it's time to ask yourself, what do I need? What are my e-commerce needs? And this helps you come prepared to that conversation with the digital e-commerce advisor at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, who is also here to help you and support you along the way. we wanted to put a reminder out there that all the digital marketing and all the different terminologies and things that we've covered today, all those expenses must be combined with other eligible e-commerce expenses. And what that means is all expenses at the end of the day, they come down to whether or not they contribute to your e-commerce presence or trying to grow your e-commerce presence. So our recommendation is to really identify which tools would work for you and help support your e-commerce. Speak with an e-commerce advisor about that digital strategy to understand what costs are covered, what's eligible, what you should do. And then obviously a component to this, as we discussed last week, is really to continue with that strategy for 6 months. So making sure that ongoing, there's a 6-month strategy in place to support your e-commerce operations, which are required to receive the grant. So we're going to stop here, and this is going to be a time for us to open the floor to questions. And as we do so, I will leave the eligibility on the screen for us to discuss and have people view as we speak about all the different things that are in the Q&A box. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Nasreen. We definitely had questions coming through as you were doing that presentation. I must say, what a beautiful time for small businesses. The support, not only from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, but certainly the government grant is just amazing. So one of the questions that seems to be a common question that we have, Joanne, is how long does it take to receive a final answer regarding approval or decline typically? So the specific question was, this person completed their application last week and the application status is still processing.
Okay, so that's a great question. And there are different time periods usually that occur with different stages of the application. So once you submit your application, you should hear back within a few days a confirmation that we have received the application, and it will be assigned to one of the members of our review team. That member of the review team will look through your application, ensure that your documentation that is requested is in place, review your expenses to see if there are any questions about expenses, and if there's any questions regarding either the business eligibility or the questions regarding the expenses that have been requested, that review member of our review team will reach out to the applicant. So, you should be hearing back from our review team with any questions that they might have in order to clarify your application and be able to move it forward. So if there's obviously any questions regarding documentation or expenses, then the quicker we can get those answers back from the applicant, then the faster we will be able to move that application through to the next stage. That next stage would be conditional approval. And once we have issued our conditional approval, the applicant has 90 days to complete their expenses and hand in their proof of payments, invoices, those things from their conditionally approved expenses to our review team. So 90 days after our conditional approval is received, we need to have your confirmed paid for expenses back. And I would like to take this opportunity just to mention any expenses that occur prior to our conditional approval are not eligible. So please don't begin with something prior to receiving our conditional approval. We don't want to disappoint you by telling you that unfortunately we cannot grant that expense request because it took place prior to the conditional approval. So after we have received all of the expenses back, we have 40 days to issue our final approval, and that would involve the receiving a final award letter signed back from the recipient, and also an invoice. So once we have all that paperwork back, it's 40 days. Now, I would say that the more complete the application is when we receive it. So the documents, you've looked at it ahead of time and you've seen the documents we're asking you to submit with your application. And another thing I would say, if you can have your plan, as Nazreen talked about, you have an idea of what you want to do, and maybe you've reached out to a third-party provider who's going to help you implement some of those e-commerce strategies. And if you can give us a quote with your application from that third-party provider who's going to assist you, that makes it a lot easier for our review team to really get an understanding of what it is you want to do and to be able to issue that conditional approval. So really, the more complete the application, the faster we can turn around your conditional approval and then refund your expenses for you.
Oh, great. Great answer. And it really does help some of the other questions that we're kind of filtering through as well. The one question too was, and it's about sort of what you were saying, Joanne, which is other information, especially when it comes to an employee or proof of an employee.
Mm-hmm. So we do have one of the 3 documents that we request is an eligibility attestation. So the eligibility that's outlined here in one of our eligible SME points is that you have to have one employee other than the owner. And we say other than the owner because we know that sole proprietors, the owners are counted as employees, but for the purpose of this grant, you do need to have another employee other than yourself. And that employee has to have been with you for 3 months. So it's the one employee or at least $30,000 in revenue. So we ask for an attestation to one of those points. And if we have any further questions, we might ask you for another document regarding, the proof of an employee. We would ask for, a pay stub from an embedded payroll system, perhaps. Or we would ask to see the deductions, the payroll deductions that have been submitted to the government. So, and I would like to that leads me to another point, that one employee cannot be a contract employee. This has to be an employee who's been with you for a minimum of 3 months and who the standard wage deductions are being remitted to the government.
Perfect. Perfect. We had one question regarding the type of business this individual has is a career coaching business where clients book and meet with the coach online. And does the grant apply to that?
So it would depend if the career coaching was happening to businesses, for other businesses, or if that was happening with individuals. So if an individual was able to reach out and have the ability to retain the services of this organization, then they would potentially be eligible for this grant. If it is a service that is only being offered to other businesses, then it would not be eligible unless the purpose of obtaining this grant was to be able to, let's say, build a website that would enable individuals who are not business owners themselves to reach out and gain these services for their own use.
Wonderful. And a number of questions that I can answer this one are about the availability of the webinar recording. It will be available sometime next week, and it will be on the Ontario Chamber of Commerce website for a link for people who would like to find it.
Yeah, I had a question come through about the stats and about whether or not we have any of those for Ontario. I would like to mention that the stats shared today were for Canada. And I also wanted to mention that some of the information that we covered last week, as we sort of prefaced why digitization is important and, the trend of digitization and how it impacts small business and all of that content that we covered last week. for those that missed it, or for those that are interested in learning more about that space as it pertains to specifically Ontario, Ontario Chamber of Commerce has a really great report. It's called the Broken Links Report. Joanne, is that available on the website? I just wanted to ask if that's a thing.
It was emailed out, and I will check to see if it is on the website. I know it has been published, and I will check the website. Nazreen, good question.
I believe it is. I was just looking at the hyperlink. So it's called Broken Links: Driving Technology Adoption Within Ontario's Small Businesses. I've read the report myself, and I actually used some of the content for last week's episode. So I really highly recommend that actually everybody takes a look at that who's interested in learning more about this digitization and how it will impact your business. Amazing resource from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, there is a lot of great information in that report for sure.
Okay. Somebody had asked, and I don't actually know the answer to this, but I'd love to put this out there to the group. So are there advisors that are proficient in service industry e-commerce? And just in general, are any of the e-commerce advisors specialized in certain industries at all? Like, or is it just a widespread of they're really good at digitization and applying it to a business? Just curious.
Yeah, so the e-commerce advisor team are actually with us. They're students who are with us for 4 months at a time, who are trained in all of the type of options excuse me, that are available and the eligibility criteria and all of those things. They are not experts in any particular field of e-commerce. So they have a general knowledge of what can be available to use under the program. They have toolkits that they can provide the SMEs who are applying for this grant with to help guide the individual business owners to make the choices that could be workable for their business. They're there to help you find the resources. They can also, if you are requesting and eligible for a new website build, they can help you with your website build, which would enable you then to spend the money on other parts of your website subscription, content creation, all of those type of things. So, you know, if you decide not to go the route of having an agency build your website, our team can do that for you. They're also here to help guide you through the application process, answer questions you might have on eligibility and how the grant itself works.
Great. All right. Some other questions. Let's see. This is again about employees. Is there a minimum number of hours an employee needs to work per month to be on payroll?
No, so there is actually, it can be a part-time employee. They do, as I mentioned previously, have to have been with you for at least 3 months prior to your application, and payroll deductions and remittances must be made.
Perfect. And I think there's another one that came in just a couple of minutes ago. If the business does not have any employees but has had more than 30,000 in annual revenue over the last year, how would you prove that? And would you need to provide a tax return to prove the revenue if requested?
So one of the documents that we request is your most recent GST, HST proof of filing with the CRA. So through that proof of filing, proof of receipt of the filing from the CRA, we are able to get an idea of the revenue level from that. But there is an attestation that we require the businesses to sign. We do reserve the right to ask for additional documentation if we have any questions.
Perfect. Go ahead, Nasreen.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say that, today's presentation was just meant to be a step in the right direction. So if last week sounded great and you're qualified, you're eligible, or you're working towards being eligible at some point in the future, today's session is really about having a little bit of knowledge of what's out there and what can help you and how, before making that, decision to say, yeah, I'm going to put my hat in the ring for this grant opportunity. And furthermore, I know last week we spoke a lot about the actual grant, the eligibility, what it means to get a government grant. A lot of small businesses are doing this for the first time, and working for Magnet and different wage subsidy programs and government grant programs for small businesses for several years now. I just want to reassure everyone that it's really not as difficult as it may seem. So there are lots of different opportunities out there that the government puts out, billions and billions of dollars a year in grant money. And a lot of the times it actually does not get awarded because some people don't apply. So don't think it's so competitive and it's like, oh, I got to put this application together and I might not get accepted. If you meet the eligibility requirements, it's not a race, it's not a competition. The money is there, and its purpose is to serve you and to help you. Hard to believe sometimes, but there is $2,400 waiting for you if you do meet the requirements, and it's all an eligible, to put towards your eligible expenses, but also this is in the name of economic growth. So this is really, I wouldn't necessarily call it like a financial handout, but it's a financial leg up. So, a lot of people were impacted by COVID-19, and this program is really addressing the problem that we had when we had a lockdown. Like, how do you digitize? How do you stay alive when your doors are closed? So all of that being said, I just wanted to encourage everyone that grants are not scary. There's a big misconception about grants. It's considered taxable income. You don't have to pay it back. It's considered taxable income, but it's also that you're spending all this $2,400. So it actually becomes an expense. So when you are doing your accounting, you could show that you have this income, but you spent it all. So it's not as bad when you break down the numbers, if you think about it like that. It's just a really great opportunity. I know personally, my partner is actually going to be applying for this program. He owns a small business. He is a one-man show using contractors, but meeting the 30K threshold. So we're going to be putting his application in together, and I'll love to share that feedback with you guys next week when we do. But we're in desperate need of some help with some social media and some search engine optimization. We have lots of different things in mind that will support the e-commerce side of his business. So really great opportunity once again. And I wanted to thank the Ontario Chamber of Commerce for supporting us on this webinar with all these very, very great questions. If anybody has any further questions, I'd like to direct you to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce website. There is an FAQs master list there that you can comb through. The application itself lives on the Ontario Chamber of Commerce website. You will notice it there under the Grow Your Business Online program. And there's even a survey that if you're not sure if you qualify and you kind of just want to see, there's a survey on the website for the ministry that actually administers this funding program. So if you type in ISED or ISED, that's the ministry that administers it, into Google with Grow Your Business Online Grant, you will find it come up. And you can take the survey there, or you could simply go to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce website, read through the eligibility requirements, and schedule a call with an e-commerce advisor. What's the worst that can happen, right? So thank you for everyone for attending today's webinar, and the recording will be made available as discussed. So we look forward to seeing you next week for week 3. And week 3 is an actual in-depth walkthrough of the application. So we're going to be taking you through what that looks like and showing you just how easy it is to make this happen. Joanne, any closing remarks?
Yeah, just all really great points, Nazreen. And the one thing that I just wanted to add to what Nazreen had said is, this grant is not going away anytime soon. It's available till March 2025. So even if you feel, you're not meeting the minimum revenue threshold at this moment, don't worry. When you're there, this grant will be around and available for you to apply. March 20, I'm sorry, did I say 2023? I'm sorry, March 2025 is that it will be here till March 2025. Okay,
Yeah.
so the grant will be around for a while. So just because you might not be eligible today, you might keep it in mind for down the road a little bit.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't meet the requirements for whatever reason, there are lots of different grants out there. One grant can't be a fit for everybody. Unfortunately, we had some startups attend last week that are just literally establishing their business and getting their documentation in order. It's not really the right time for somebody in that status to be applying for a grow your business online. That would be more of a start your business grant. So grow your business, keep in mind, is for someone who has an existing business, who's hoping to take it from point A to point B. And that's really what we're here for. And again, Ontario Chamber of Commerce is a great resource. Please visit their website. There is lots there that you can take advantage of. That concludes today's session. Thank you to our panelists for helping with the Q&A, and we will see you next week. We offer the sessions on Tuesdays from 12 noon to 12:30, 12:45, depending on question and answers, and also on Thursdays from 2 to 2:30, 2:45, and both of those are offered in Eastern time. So again, if you're interested in coming next week to see the in-depth walkthrough or learning more about how the application process works, we'll see you then Tuesday or Thursday. Have a great afternoon and take care.